Hello everyone, I hope you're having a wonderful day today. I just wanted to give you a few little updates because this little tester phal is it's becoming a star in its own right. I am very proud of this little plant. And I wanted to show you, I didn't think it was possible, but yes, it is possible. Do you see how those roots have grown since yesterday? Wow, that is spectacular. Okay, and let's look at Buddy. Do you see, especially since last week, how this has grown? That's just, wow, fabulous, fabulous growth. Okay, and I gave this one an extra dry out day yesterday, and I can tell that this bottom root that I'm showing you underneath my thumb, it has grown. So this little miniature has really taken off. When miniatures start growing, they grow very quickly. So this one's doing very well. So I got a really interesting question from my friend Deborah Woodrow today. How in the world do you keep up with all of the different methods that you grow in? The thing is I've been growing orchids for 14 years, and some of my orchids have been growing in the same type media for a long time. And I know exactly what they need on exactly what day. I can just tell you. My weekly schedule, I do this up every Sunday afternoon. What do I want to do with my orchids this week? According to the weather we're having and according to what they need for care. So what I've done is I've really simplified things for myself a lot. On Mondays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, I do 95% of the work on my orchids. Those are the mornings that I get up a little bit earlier, and if I need to do any fertilizing that day, I do the fertilizing those days. Those are the days that most of my orchids are going to have dry out days that are in water culture. And I've got those set up really, really easy. Okay, let me show you for instance. This is the temporary home for this orchid that's in water culture. This cup here is the temporary home for this one. So what I do is I keep their temporary homes either very close to them, or I keep them in the same little storage space. Over here. Okay, this one goes in that glass. So that's really, really easy. I found that this is very easy. My growing space back here, I really like it because eventually I'm going to have all of my orchids back here. I'm still working on that. As you know, I work little by little by little on this, and I just like to make sure that they're acclimating really, really well, and all of them have. All of them have. You will see this is the one that I showed you yesterday with that spike. I have her back here because she needs to be out here as well. Plus, I'm doing a little bit of extra foliar feeding with her. She's getting some feeding in the morning to try to get that spike perked up. And I'm grouping all of my orchids that I'm treating the same in the same area. It's going to save you a whole lot of time. Remember, I'm wanting to foliar feed this one a little bit extra too. And you can just see the results of that. So today was just one of my off days. I really didn't need to do anything, but just maybe, I think I watered a couple of my bark phals, which didn't take me any time at all. So there's days that there's activity with your orchids. Try to do that as much as possible, just 2-3 days a week. I'm not back here messing with them all the time. I'm not back here watering them all the time. You give an orchid care when it needs it. And then when it doesn't need you, you leave it alone. That's one of the best pieces of advice I can give you. They like to just sit in their spot and just, chill, just like we do. So that's a really important point to make. Also remember, just keep your changes with your orchids very small. Change them little by little by little. This Cattleya is the one that's been inside for 11 years, and I'm wanting to acclimate it to out here on my sun porch. Okay, so I don't have it all the way up to my window. I'm kind of letting it acclimate a little bit at a time. It was back like 2 or 3 feet a few days ago. I don't like to have sunburnt leaves, so you have to acclimate them rather slowly. So if you're bringing one from inside that's been inside for a long time and all of a sudden you're putting it in brighter light, just do it gradually. Okay, here are 2 of my phal that are in bark. Okay, this morning, the one on the left here, I put a little bit of fertilizer on it. It needs a little bit more because it's been in bloom for about 2 years. Yes. Okay, here's something that I've learned. I finally put this together after how long? Okay, do you see how this spike is getting ready? Well, let me give you a close-up on that. Do you see how it's getting ready to set some buds? Don't fertilize at this point. The best analogy that I can give you is right before a woman has a baby, there's a lot of hormonal changes, okay, that help her to deliver that baby. So the hormones change. This is what's kind of going on here. You don't want to give it any food at this point until it blooms fully. Then you can fertilize it again after it's already bloomed out. So many people have asked me about this. You know, I brought an orchid home and it was in full bloom, and all of a sudden the buds just all fell off. The buds just blasted. If you fertilize at this point, that is more highly likely to happen than not. Let me put it to you that way. I have thought about this for such a long time. Why do buds blast sometimes and why do they not? And I found in a orchids encyclopedia that I have actually, that at this point you don't fertilize this phalenopsis. Just so you know. I thought that was really, really interesting, and I'm glad I finally figured out why. Because that's what has happened here. I bought this 2 weeks ago. I tried to keep it under the most constant temperature that I could. As you know, if your orchid's been in a 75-degree room and all of a sudden the temperature drops to like 60 degrees, those buds are going to drop off. Okay, this one I tried to keep it at as constant as a temperature as I could. But what's happened is this is not anything that I've done. I believe that the supplier fertilized it at that time when it should not have had fertilizer. So when you have your fertilizers out, make sure you're thinking about, is this plant in active growth? If it's not, it is not going to need as much fertilizer. Is this plant getting ready to bloom? Is it a spike that's about ready to set buds? Then you're not going to fertilize at that time, or this is likely to happen. So just kind of think about keeping your orchids on a schedule. It's going to help you to remember when to fertilize, when not to fertilize, and we'll get into that more later. But for right now, most of my orchids are in active growth, so I want to make sure that they have that fertilizer, except for when they have those spikes that are starting to set the buds. That's when you stop on those phalenopsis orchids. And on the days that you don't have anything to do with them, sit back, relax, and enjoy them. That is as much a part of orchid growing as any other part. You know, just sit back and relax and look at what they're doing. That's going to teach you a whole lot about what they need. So you all have a great day and be highly favored, deeply loved, and greatly blessed. And we'll see you all next time.